What does real-world AI adoption look like for small and medium-sized businesses? And how do you avoid the pitfalls of hype, fear, and some of that complexity that you encounter along the way? Well, today I'm joined by the wonderful Candice DeVille. She's the CEO and co-founder of AI Copilot. And she's speaking to me today directly from the grounds of the Osaka Castle in Japan. And let me tell you, it is some backdrop. But it's not just about the location today. She's going to be exploring the latest global developments in tech and automation. And with more than 2 decades in digital marketing, media and business strategy, Candice has worked with brands ranging far and wide, from Mercedes to emerging SaaS startups. But whoever she's working with, her mission remains the same. It's focused on something far more pressing. It's simply helping everyday businesses implement AI in a way that actually works. So together, we will explore how AI Copilot is bridging the disconnect between leadership's AI ambitions and what is realistically achievable inside the business. So whether it be overcoming data silos, change resistance to spotting red flags in shiny AI sales pitches, Candice is going to help unpack how organisations can build smarter and more phased strategies with better outcomes. And whether that is simplifying overdue debt collection or designing AI champions across teams, she makes quite a compelling case today for pairing smart automation with human-first design. And as you all know, that is something very close to my heart too. So where do you begin when you're ready to explore AI, but don't want to burn your budget or risk team buy-in? And how can your business use these tools to not just improve your operations, but empower people at every level? Well, enough from me. It's time for me to officially introduce you to Candice now. So thank you for joining me on the podcast today. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. My name's Candice DeVille, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of AI Copilot in Australia. And we are not a software. In fact, we are the piece between when the board says you need some AI and actually making that happen in the best possible way.
And there is so much I'm excited to talk with you about today. But before we do, this is an audio podcast, but just try and tell everyone listening what I can see right now. You're in Japan. What are you doing there? What's happening?
Yeah, I'm in Japan for the Osaka World Expo, where there's all sorts of different technologies being showcased, from robotics and AI and all sorts of things. And I'm actually coming to you today from the gardens in the Osaka Castle, which is spectacular. It
really is. And after 3,200 interviews, you officially get the award for the best backdrop. Hands down, nothing could
Fabulous.
But for people listening that may be unfamiliar with your fantastic work, can you tell me a little bit more about exactly what AI Copilot is and also the vision behind it?
Yeah, well, my co-founder and myself have both been working in digital technology for over 25 years each. And he was formerly Silicon Valley back in the 2000s and the dot-com boom. And it's something that has really been a thread through both of our lives for a long time. And through the kind of work that we've done, we've worked with all sorts of businesses, everything from not-for-profits, education, manufacturing, white-collar, blue-collar, all sorts of different businesses in the technology space. And for me personally, the thing that drives me is uncovering potential and helping people reach their potential. So I love being able to work with technology to help individuals and businesses really reach their potential and exceed it as well. So over the years, we've had a couple of companies together working in the digital marketing, business intelligence space. I'm both a creative and a technologist. And so when we found that most of our clients became interested in AI as soon as ChatGPT hit the headlines, we were able to start having those conversations with them. And what we found was that before that, most people were not really interested in how the sausage was made. They just wanted you to make the sausage. Yeah. And then when that happened, it allowed us to expand what we did into trying to help businesses really leverage AI and find great ways to integrate that in their business in meaningful ways, starting with things that were low risk and high impact. And ultimately, our goal as an organization is to help both businesses and the human element, that's why we all run businesses, isn't it? To actually do what we want, to live a nice life. to be happy, to have access to education, technology, more accessibility, all of these things that make our lives better as human beings.
And that's one of the things that really stands out for me. It's so refreshing to hear somebody talking about an AI solution in the same sentence using the word human element and making our lives better. That is something that gets lost all too often, keeping that human in the loop. And of course, when I was doing a little research on you, another thing that stood out is that you've worked with huge global brands and emerging startups alike. So both ends of the spectrum here. So how are you seeing AI reshaping strategy different for, let's say, SMEs compared to enterprise? Are there any big differences there?
It's fascinating because I found that, say, 10 years ago, working with the very big brands, like Samsung and Panasonic and whatnot, it was very different, the situation they were in to the small businesses. We've seen the playing field really level because there's this almost democratization of technology, that what used to only be available to the big guys is now available to everyone. But the key element that I've uncovered in working with them all over the last couple of years in the AI space is that they all have the same problems. And those problems are ones of not even understanding the technology and how that can be used, let alone how to make it work best for the humans in their business. And so they're all facing exactly the same challenges, regardless of size or budget.
And I think many businesses are intrigued by AI. They want to get involved, but also they're incredibly concerned around the costs that are involved. So where can they start to see that real ROI without the heavy investment? I think very often businesses make the mistake of going all in and trying to reach for the stars instead of just starting with small, quick wins. But what are you seeing here?
Yeah, the biggest missing piece is the AI literacy. Yeah. And when you've got boards making decisions and pushing things down saying, we need AI on this, but even the board doesn't understand what that is. It's not just ChatGPT. It's not just generative AI. What does that look like? And how is the best way to start bringing that into the business that is low risk and high impact? And unless you are actually getting really good advice from people who've been in the space for a while, understand how it can be applied, but also have a good roadmap to that, it's very easy to jump off down the wrong path, put way too much money into it. A case I saw the other day of a company trying to recruit for someone to build a particular product for them that I happen to know is already in the market. This company spent $24 million building it. So why would this SME here in Australia think it's a good idea to hire someone to build this for themselves? And it just comes from a lack of understanding of the space, let alone the technology. And for us, that's a big part of where we come in, is when we're working with businesses, first of all, educating stakeholders. What is this? What's possible? What can be done? What is the smartest path to get to where you want to go without just burning through your cash in something that is likely going to fundamentally change within months?
And I think if we go back, 5, 10, 15, 20, even 30 years, many of the problems that we're seeing today are the same problems we've been battling with. And that is any new tech solution, we often forget about the impact that it can have on the people. And people that might be resistant to change, they don't understand what's in it for them. And as a result, it's the company culture that is more important than the tech coming in. Maybe that needs to change before you even think about the technology. And yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I bring this up is you talk a lot about the importance of nurturing employees in an AI-powered workplace. So what does that look like in practice?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And we find that quite often leadership don't consider the change management aspect, but also think of AI as something that belongs to the IT team or the tech team, and that these are the only people that really should have input or work on this. Whereas it's something that will really reach its best potential when you engage everybody in the business at different levels, from your receptionist, your customer service person, all of these, because they have such a different viewpoint and different perspective of the business, where the pain points are, what can be changed and fixed there, but also the nature of generative AI and working with natural language means that people who have not traditionally been involved in a lot of these roles may be the ones that can actually lead some of these changes. And when we're working early stages with business, I'll often say what we want to do is create a team of AI champions in the business. And I want you to first look outside of the IT team. I want you to go and talk to people who have small children. I want you to talk to people in the business who have teenagers, because if you can get a 4-year-old to wear a raincoat on a rainy day and you've had to ask them 20 times in different ways to do it and you get a great result, that is the same skill.
I love that. Such a great analogy. And you're doing this on a global scale. And I'm curious, from everything you're seeing from startups, SMEs to large enterprises, what are some of the most common mistakes that you see all businesses making when they first try to implement AI into their operations? Are there any trends there in the kind of things that you're seeing and the kind of mistakes that, or traps even, that they fall into?
Yeah. We've found that there's really two types of profiles that we're seeing. And there's those that are the early adopters who are really keen to just put AI into absolutely everything. And they're not considering the human element. They're not looking at risk profiles. They're not looking at security. And what happens is that you end up with this sort of AI cowboy type approach of, oh, let's just shoot this bit and hope that it actually works. And then you end up paying subscriptions for 50 different platforms. And there's no real cohesive strategy. It's just shiny object syndrome. And then on the other side, we see that there are people who are so afraid of what AI is going to do for the business that they're really, really slow to adopt. And they are afraid that it's going to change things so much that they're not willing to invest the time in planning things correctly.
You've raised two fantastic points there. And those two things, shiny object syndrome, I think we've all seen that in every organization. And of course, analysis paralysis, the ones that are stuck in AI pilot mode and frightened of moving any further forward. And I think very often in our news feeds, it's full of the hype of everything that AI can do, but also we don't talk enough about what it can't do sometimes. And I'm curious, you must get frustrated at some of the hype and also some of the myths and misconceptions that fill up your newsfeed every day. Are there any we can lay to rest today once and for all? What are your biggest frustrations around myths that you hear about?
Yeah. I often tell people, I'm not Harry Potter. I can't just walk in here and give you a good spell and your AI is going to be perfect. But I think one of the key things that is often overlooked is that when we talk to businesses about the AI really needs good data, right? It's driven by how good your data is. What does that infrastructure look like? How good are your systems? And they might tell you, oh, we've got this wonderful SOP and everything's all organized. But the reality is when you start talking to people in the organization, that it's a mess. People don't have folders structured correctly. They don't have, information is siloed all over the business. You've got individuals working where half of their job is on Post-it notes around their monitors. And so getting to the heart of what is actually the case behind the data management of the business can be a real challenge. And many don't realize that without that done correctly first, then AI is just going to be a leaky bucket and it's going to give you rubbish results. So the challenge is to work with businesses who want the instant gratification, but they have not put in the time to understand, is the structure of their data good to begin with? Do we have giant holes here? Do we have security issues? How can all of this be pulled together nice and neatly so that when you do implement an AI solution, unlike software, this is something that needs to be organic. It needs to be modular because it's going to change really quickly. And if those foundations aren't right, then you're going to end up in a worse mess than where you started.
And I recently spoke with a leader at AWS, and he was saying one of the big problems at the moment is anybody with a credit card can have access to an AI of some sort, but the real value is not necessarily in the AI, it is in the data, exactly as you said there. And I think maybe that's one of the things that is slowing a lot of, particularly the larger enterprises down. When you mentioned data silos there, and every individual department is so guarded about that data, who can see it, who can access it. Any advice you would say you would offer or tips on how to unify some of that data, get data ready before jumping into the shiny object syndrome with the AI.
Yeah. Actually, I have a book out on Amazon specifically about that people can get just like, I think it's the printing cost or virtually free, to how to get your business AI ready. And it's looking at those things. Where is the data? How organized is it? How clean is it? There's no point in trying to hook into a database of 50,000 people if most of them have no interest in your business at all. So there's all these pieces that need to be looked at, where that kind of data is housed, how you can put those security measures in place and so on, but also to determine what can you get out of the data that you already have and how can you make this work for you in a really smart way. So, for example, something as simple as a customer sentiment analysis bot, right? You could be getting reviews back about your restaurant and it might tell you, yes, we love the food, no, we didn't, and then you respond to those reviews. That's only one thing that you can do with that data. And having somebody work with you to say, all right, well, we can actually get even more benefit out of this, to look at things like predictions, seasonality, how do we change stuff, how do we market better, and then use that data to actually uplift lots of different business units in the same project. And so rather than just trying to build one single use case out of something simple, the best ROI comes from really understanding how that data can give you a more robust solution across many areas of your business for those insights that you wouldn't have been able to get beforehand.
And for anybody listening, you've just set up a huge light bulb moment there. They're getting off their train, heading into the office thinking, I think we've got the solution to this data problem that we've got in AI. What's the name of your book? What can people expect from it? Where can they find it?
Yes, it's on Amazon and it's the Navigating AI Playbook. I'll pop you a link so you can put that in the show notes as well.
Fantastic. Thank you. And you've also developed digital transformation roadmaps for a wide range of different industries. So for the entrepreneurs listening, what should they be including in theirs? Any tips on that?
One of the most important things is both the risk matrix and also the, I guess, decision-making matrix of where should you be trying AI in a phased approach in the business that gives you things that are low risk and high reward with a lower investment and a higher ROI. And so when you can develop that as a matrix for your business, it makes it so much easier to make the decisions on which projects next. And then you can start to see what of the new projects would have dependencies on previous ones, or when you've had success with, say, a phase 1 or a phase 2 of a project, what comes out of that? What more can you do with it? And I love that AI gives us so much more creativity with a business where instead of things, just being a single project with a single goal, we can look at it very, very differently and look at new outcomes for the business that don't just drive profitability, but also drive things like job satisfaction, being able to tap so much more into the knowledge of your workers that may have been completely lost in busy work.
And you're not only living and breathing this space, you're currently in Japan. You're getting a glimpse into the future of so many different ideas at the moment. You must be getting sensory overload, so much cool things happening there. But looking ahead, are there any emerging AI capabilities that you think will be most transformative for small to medium-sized businesses over the next 12 months? I suspect you might say the word agents in a moment, but what are you seeing and what excites you?
Yeah, it's funny because, yes, I build agents. We use these. I think it's very much a buzzword for a lot of businesses. They still do not understand how they're going to get real benefit out of this. And they're just seeing it as a way to, say, replace simple systems or simple automations that people in the business may have done. But the truly transformative part is something that's still evolving. And that is using AI for more accessibility and being able to tap into skills, talents, ideas of people in the team that we have not been able to do before. And perhaps that could be because of things like learning difficulties or dyslexia or anything like this. And AI is able to help us help people become even more valuable in their space. And that, I think, is where we can truly transform things. It's not just in the pushing buttons, automating things. It's being able to really see, what is that human element? How do we unlock that potential in people? How do we help them be able to achieve their goals and ultimately have a nice life? Because that's what we all want.
Yeah, fantastic advice. And on a personal level, I think there's a real pressure on everyone to be in a state of continuous learning right now. I feel it. I'm sure you do. And everyone listening does. You're getting yourself out there at conferences and events, but where or how do you self-educate in other areas and keep up to speed with everything?
Yeah. Look, I won't lie to you. It is very anxiety inducing some days. Some days you're just like, oh, I can't even open my phone. It's doing my head in. But I think that one key is focus on a specific area of AI that you're most interested in, right? So if it's generative AI, then think about, is it LLMs or is it video or the creative side? Really pick what it is that you want to learn about. Maybe it's machine learning. Maybe it's neural networks. You can't do all of the things at once. We're not going to boil the ocean because they're all changing. Once you know what your core area of interest is, then I look in a lot of different places for education. We've got the formal side, but informally, I actually like to follow a number of different developers and experimenters in the space. So following their TikToks, reading Substacks, reading research papers. I'm particularly interested in the synthetic brain versus the human brain. So I read a lot about neuroplasticity, what's happening in that space as well, and teach myself through these things. You'll always learn best through doing. So once you find the niche that you're most interested in, even just jumping on YouTube and having a play. When we play, we learn so much more because we don't have those same constraints around it. And I think play is having a whole renaissance with AI. And we do see that. But there is a balance to be had between, generating pictures of yourself as an action figure on ChatGPT and just wasting time, then sitting there and going, okay, how can I make this thing in my life better? And my advice to anyone who hasn't spent time with this is go about your day, not even at work, but at home. And everything you do, think to yourself, how could I use AI to make this better? Maybe it's a process. Maybe it's something to do with how you cook. You want to make that dish better than you've done before and get feedback. And even on my trip here in Japan, one of the things I'm doing every day is looking at how am I using AI differently to make my experience better? And not just through translating, but through cultural moments, having understanding, walking through museums and saying, wow, that's really interesting. Okay, so what does this actually say? And how does that change my understanding of the history here? So being able to get into things deeper and just playing with it will really, really help.
Wow, what a beautiful answer. Absolutely love that. And for anybody listening who wanted to understand how you might be able to help with Copilot, do you have any use cases or stories you might be able to share of how you're helping businesses with Copilot? Anything you can leave us with that will just bring to life the kind of work that you're doing?
Yeah, sure. A very simple case was we're working with a maintenance company, and their financial controller, because this was a family business, was spending 2 days a week on dealing with overdue debts and all of these sorts of things and trying to handle it manually, being nice, not losing clients. We created an AI system for them where the AI could actually identify issues, follow up on overdue debts, reduce that time to payment, and do it in a way that wasn't damaging to the customer relationship. And when we created this with them, we were able to roll that out, and within 1 month, we could see that he got back 2 whole days in his week, which is pretty massive when you consider the salary of a CFO. Yeah. And they were able to lower the time to payment and have greater customer satisfaction. Really, really simple, but it makes a big difference to the bottom line.
And what I love about that example, again, we're not talking about shiny object syndrome here. We're talking about a very real, measurable impact, return on investment. And I think there's a big focus on that this year for the right reasons. And it's great to be hearing this. We're solving real problems, right?
Otherwise, what are we doing? We're just sitting here in an echo chamber, all reading the same articles, talking the same height, listening to the same, either fear mongering or it's too much. And
Yeah.
what we really need is that boots on the ground approach. Where is this working? How is this actually making a difference to not just the bottom line, but to you as an individual? And what I love about these projects, and this is a great example, the one we just spoke about, it means that this guy who had always wanted to have his Fridays off to be able to spend with his family can now do that. He gets to do something else with his life on a Friday. And to me, that's what matters.
And I think that is a powerful moment to end on. But before I do, you've got a huge social presence. You've got a book. You've got AI Copilot. For anybody listening, wanting to keep up to speed with what you're doing, with what AI Copilot's doing, and find your book, where's the best starting point for everything?
Probably the website, which is just aicopilot.com. And you'll find all sorts of things there. I have to do a bit of blogging there. I'm on LinkedIn all the time. I try to use LinkedIn like people use Instagram. And you will not find comments written by AI purporting to be me, because I really like to talk to people, and I might have sometimes a bit of a cheeky sense of humor, but I think this really matters even more now.
Yeah, it really does. And I'll add links to absolutely everything. And I do encourage people to check everything out there. And I will include a link to your book too. But love chatting with you today about how businesses can better implement AI solutions with minimal costs and maximum ROI, and so many big tips there. And what I love more than anything is all about keeping the human in the loop. But just thank you for sharing your story today and officially having the best backdrop in 3,200 interviews. Thank you for joining me.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
So how are you preparing your teams, your data and your decision making for a future that is inevitably powered by AI? I think today's conversation with Candice offered a grounded and a practical guide to navigating AI integration without falling into common traps of overinvestment and underpreparedness. And she outlined how AI Copilot helps businesses build smarter pathways by starting with low risk, high impact use cases. And more importantly, how this kind of tech can elevate the people behind the processes. And one standout takeaway for me was the importance of focusing AI initiatives around the humans that use them. And whether it is unlocking skills hidden beneath those day-to-day tasks or simply making data work harder across departments, Candice has showed today that when done well, AI quickly becomes less of a buzzword and more of a strategic advantage. And if you are curious about learning how you could apply some of these principles in your own work, please check out Candice's Mastering AI for Professionals course. I've had a play myself and I've learned so much. I mean, I've interviewed, 3,200 people on this podcast. And I always say I'm always a student, sometimes a teacher, but never an expert. And when we talk about the importance of continuous learning and how do you self-educate, for me personally, I learned so much from this. So if you're interested in a practical, evolving program that is designed to help you stay competitive, adapt faster, and ultimately just gain real-world confidence in some of these AI tools, you'll find it really handy. And her book as well, the AI Ready Playbook, is available on Amazon, which also breaks down how to get your business data and mindset ready without all the noise. But you've heard from me, you've heard from Candice today. This podcast is all about giving you valuable takeaways and enabling you or empowering you to go out there and make a difference. So please share with me now. Let me be your accountability partner. What is the first step you're going to take to make AI a meaningful part of your business strategy? If you have walked away inspired, what are you going to do first? Please email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, LinkedIn, X, Instagram, just at Neil C. Hughes. Now, I'll be back again very soon with another guest that will hopefully inspire you to go out there and take action. And hopefully, I will speak with you all then. Bye for now.